Hi and welcome back to Cheeky Crypto. My name is Nick and today guys we're going to be jumping down into the world of Bitcoin, taking a look at what's been going on most recently with that price action and what I think is likely to happen next. As I get into today's video, if you do find it useful and informative, smash that like button. I do appreciate that. If you are new to the channel, subscribe, and if you haven't joined us in Discord, you are missing a trick. Check it out. Link is in the description down below. Let's jump right down into today's video, kicking things off with the 1 hour time frame. Okay guys, here we have Bitcoin paired up with USDT. We're running on the Binance 1 hour chart here. So as you can kind of see, we finally got that breakout situation yesterday. We've tapped up higher than the 37,980. So we can go ahead and finally get rid of these highs. This is new higher high here. And we are heading out towards our target range. Our target range being 38,753 to 40,080. That is kind of where we're heading. Now up here we can see the structure of this isn't the best, but it still has potential to keep on going. So I'm not too concerned over everything that's going on here. Let me just kind of draw in. I'm looking for a three-wave pattern. Overall, I'm going to go ahead and pull this in. You can kind of see that my expectations are that we will end up in this little sweet spot right here between 39,177 and 39,762. Sorry, 742. And we should get there through a probable three-wave structure. So let me show you what I mean. Okay, so here we have three waves up. We have a three-wave move to the downside. Nothing unusual here. And then, of course, we get into what I think is probably still a move to the downside to be had. So I don't think we're necessarily done yet, but we have a W wave coming up. I think we'll probably have to pull back a little bit here on an X wave. And then finally, we'll end up in that range there. All in all, I'm going to use an ABC for this. It's not really technically an ABC, but you can see it right there. Then it gets us up into that sweet spot right there. That is then going to complete our fifth wave diagonal-based pattern, in my opinion. Or actually probably wouldn't complete it. Looking at it and adjusting for everything, probably not complete at that point. We probably actually have to see another move down and another move up. So it might actually be that we hit the higher range expectation here on this one. But yeah, so just taking a look at it, I would say, yeah, that's probably going to be what we look for, because we are looking for a wave one, it's not there. Give me a second. A wave one, a wave two, wave three, wave four, wave five. It's going to have to look like that. It's a little bit complicated. As you can kind of see, there's a lot kind of going on here within this structure. We had a running flat correction for the wave four. Caught us a little bit off guard there, which is why we're stuck in that ranging market. We've got that break to the upside, which is now confirming our diagonal-based pattern. And so, yeah, for the most part, we're looking nicely for this move upwards. We're going to probably tap into that $40,000. If we don't do it right away, we'll have a quick correction and then up again, and then we are kind of there. So let me go ahead and tidy out some of these lines just so you guys are aware of where my mind is at the moment on this one. I will leave in some of this stuff, but get rid of some of the other stuff. We don't need it all. There we go. Okay, so smart money concepts has got finally confirmation. So we were bearish, we flipped into bullish, we were waiting for something to happen. We finally got that confirmation right over there as we broke that local high. So all in all, we are in a bullish structure with confirmation of that. So we are targeting out our higher move according to smart money concepts. Smart money concepts, Elliott wave theory are both aligned. Then we have our EMAs. We've got the 200 EMA, that's the white line. We've got the yellow line as your 50 SMA and the red line as your 50 EMA. Everything's stacked up nicely. Price is above all of them. And we've got the 50 EMA, 50 SMA above that of the 200 EMA. All of that is looking good from the traditional ways that we'd analyze the market. So at the moment, I think we're pretty good on this hourly chart. Nothing much to concern here. Our concerns about those lows are now done. That's all good. So let's go ahead and move up into the daily. Where are we? Well, the daily is heading out into this diagonal-based pattern. So we have an expanding diagonal on the daily for a fifth wave movement on a daily chart. We are currently in that 5-wave move, and I reckon we're in the fifth wave of the fifth wave of the fifth wave. Let me explain. So here we can see that our wave 4 is low. I'm going to draw it down here, but in fact it actually starts more here. So I'm going to I'll do it properly. We have a wave 1, wave 2. We then moved up into the wave 3, which is kind of where we are heading, in my opinion, right now. We're going to probably tap up into some of those higher ranges at around 39. So I'm going to go do that. Then we're going to move down into wave 4, and then we'll finally move up into that final 5th wave. That's kind of what we're looking for. So we can see we have a diagonal inside our 5th wave movement, which is also an expanding diagonal of our larger 5th wave move. Okay, so as everything is kind of breaking down across those different time frames, we're actually in a really sweet spot here, and everything is tracking quite nicely. From our traditional EMAs, again, we're above the 200 EMA with the 50 EMA and the 50 SMA on the daily charts, also above that. So that's also working out quite nicely. We're also in a bullish structure from Smart Money Concepts, nothing different there. So basically, our hourly chart is very much aligned to our daily chart. Ultimately, not much to kind of concern ourselves with at this point. Everything is kind of tracking out just as kind of we've been talking about for the last few weeks or so. We are in the diagonal pattern, and we've got a diagonal inside the 5th wave of a diagonal of a 5th wave movement. So it can be a little bit complicated from an Elliott wave theory point of view. Traditionally, it's okay, it's not a problem. We can't be bearish until really we're down a little bit lower. Obviously, we're trying to front run the EMAs, which are very laggy. The same with your MACDs. All these are really laggy. So what we're trying to do with Elliott wave theory Smart Money Concepts is front run that lag. And so we can see is actually things are lining up quite nicely here to finish this structure off. Once we complete the structure here at the 5th wave movement, we will be looking for retracements, and we are going to be looking, in my opinion, for $30,000 to $31,000. There is a big fair value gap down there, and also it's going to be the next interesting zone for finding support. So, that's going to be the next big move. We're basically going to move from 40,000 to 30,000, in my opinion. Now, take a look at it from a weekly standpoint. We are heavily overbought on the weekly and monthly, so we do know that there's a big macro move to the downside. We also have an ascending triangular wedge here, which is a bearish pattern as well. So we are looking for a break to the downside. This weekly chart has more of a bearish pattern and a bearish structure, where I'm looking at not just 30,000 as a support level, I'm looking at 24,000 as a support level, and then I'm looking at $20,000 as a support level. We're going to potentially be tapping all of those, in my opinion. First 30, bounce at 30, then drop to 24, bounce at 24, then drop and lose that to 20. And how we react at 20 is really going to be for whether or not Bitcoin has to move down into 17s, 15s, and maybe even a new bear market low point. Things are not good on the weekly, monthly timeframes. So we want to be aware that be aware of these patterns, be aware of the bearish structures that are there, and then see how price reacts at 30, see how price reacts at 28 and 24, see how price reacts at 20, 21. And depending on their reactions, it could prevent us from that big bearish pattern and slippage to the downside. So just be aware that there are many people who can see and acknowledge. 𝗕𝗘𝗪𝗧 is one, obviously, talking about $12,000 Bitcoin. There are many analysts out there saying that things aren't quite right. And then, of course, you've just got the moon boys just talking, 100,000, 500,000 or whatever. And one of the things I would say, though, is that when the media gets super bullish, the sentiment is super bullish, you tend to find that profits get taken and things reverse. But nonetheless, we are where we are at the moment. We still have that progression upwards. I don't think we're done just yet, which means we've probably got a few weeks, hopefully a few weeks of still progression upwards before we actually do start to see this reversal in the market, which I do think is coming. It is, of course, going to be leading us right the way back down into kind of those lows what we were in previously. So it'd be interesting to see what happens next there on BTC. But ultimately, everything that's going on, I'm expecting 40 to 50% reduction. If we take a look at this on a monthly time frame, guys, this is where you get true perspective on where Bitcoin sits, right? So if we kind of zoom right out to the monthly time frame, you can kind of see the stochastic RSI at the bottom here, and you can reflect on where we were the two previous times and we were overbought versus where we are right now. Okay, so let's go ahead and show you the percentage drops. Okay, so we had the high up here before we got down to this oversold area, which realistically was all the way down here. This is how long it lasted. It was 76% from there. But the initial pullback was 55, right? So that initial overbought to not even oversold was a 55% pullback. That actually happened in a bull market as well before we had the $69,000 high. It was 76% if you want to take it into oversold, right? The time before that, if you come back, you can see was over here. It didn't go down to the oversold area, but it was a pretty significant drop of 72%. Okay, the time before that, you can kind of get the idea here, guys. It was an 84% drop. So the question becomes, how much of a drop do you think is actually going to happen here, considering our overbought status? Now, you can be overbought for quite some time, as you can kind of see. It doesn't have to get rejected right away. It has done this in the past, though. Comes up, it gets pulled back down. Comes up, stays up there for a few months, then comes down, right? So we want to be aware that there's no guarantees that this means just straight down. We can stay up in the overbought area for months, but the chances are, considering an ascending wedge, considering an end of structure pattern, an overlapping structure here, I'm expecting 40 to 50%, but it could be a lot worse. And so just bear that in mind. Let's get some perspective on everything. You can see here on this low trend line that connects all those lows together, this is also depicting kind of $13,000 to $14,000 Bitcoin, which is a new bear market low point. And there's no guarantee that even that would hold under that premise, because there isn't a lot of support to be found in these particular range. There's a little bit, but not a lot, right? You can see a little bit around 14,000. It's been a key area for me for months, 14K. But for the most part, as you can kind of see, we've pushed up nicely. We're up in the overbought. We're looking for corrections to the downside. And everything here is just not quite where it needs to be for that next bullish market. I think we're running out of momentum. We're almost at the end of structure. I think we're going to be seeing a 40 to 50% reduction. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below, but for me, yeah, it's not too bad. I think there's an opportunity in it. So let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. If you found it useful, informative, smash that like button. I do appreciate that. If you're new to the channel, subscribe, and don't forget to join us down in Discord. Until the next one though, guys, have a fantastic day.